Today, we're going to talk a little bit about Cuddle Party with religious communities, church communities who might value things like chastity, and they could hear something like Cuddle Party and their mind could go in many, many directions that if they actually knew what Cuddle Party really was, they might feel differently and not have fear based on imagination. So can you tell us your take on that?
Yeah, I'd love to. I'd love to. It's so interesting to me that no matter how often we say this is platonic, it is explicitly non-sexual. That's very much a part of its purpose and design. When people hear about adults cuddling in our culture, it's almost like immediately it's really hard to separate it from sexual activity. And I grew up in this culture. I think that is also my experience, that very rarely do adults cuddle outside of sexual activity. And I remember my first cuddle party experience, which was over 10 years ago now, was kind of mind blowing in that I had these personal epiphanies afterwards, and it brought up a lot of emotion that was very healing. But one of them was that I realized that as an adult, as a woman in this culture, that in my 20s, that there were times where I had engaged in sexual activity when I really didn't want to. I really was longing for just nurturing closeness, for touch. And I found myself in circumstances and situations where I just felt this internal pressure or expectation, or it maybe just not enough boundaries or ability to set my limits, where I ended up doing things that felt icky afterwards, honestly. And so the cuddle party experience was wonderful to feel like, oh my goodness, here was a place with other adults where there was safety around that, and I didn't have to set the boundaries. The boundaries were held very clearly, and they were collectively agreed upon by everybody in the room. And I got to experience the kind of touch that was really nurturing, that I longed for, that felt innocent and that felt just like what I wanted, without any of that other stuff. And it was revelatory.
Wow.
And then as my years as a I would say I'm a seasoned facilitator now. That was my first experience, first one or two experiences as a participant, and how I wanted to keep engaging in that. But now as a facilitator, having facilitated so many other people, I've had really heartwarming stories, for many people over the years having a similar experience. And some people just in tears of relief of how wonderful it feels to not have that pressure, but to still be able to connect in close ways.
And how do you think it works that, I mean, some people might think, oh gosh, you're getting close to the line, you're playing with fire and things like that. I feel like I've heard more stories where it actually dampens the fire and helps to gain resilience against what we're trying not to do. So what do you think is special about Cuddle Party that kind of allows that to happen?
Well, it really comes down to the rules. We have these very clear rules, our very explicit social agreements, and one of them is that if you're a maybe, say no. And that's in the context of everybody has to verbally ask before they touch anyone and get a verbal yes before they touch anyone. So it's very clear and explicit. And this rule that if you're a maybe, say no really means just listen to your truth. There's no pressure. Don't go if you're not sure. Don't go there. And then you're encouraged to change your mind. So you stay in present time with that, and that in itself is super empowering. And then also when we say no, participants are encouraged to say thank you for taking care of yourself, to verbally acknowledge appreciation for a no, which is also something that many of us don't hear, especially in that context. So both of those things together are just hugely relieving and empowering. Our no is appreciated, it's encouraged, it's supported. I mean, and a lot of the resistance to saying no can come from the fear of being cast out or rejected, that we're not going to have that sense of belonging or connection if we say no. And it just, Cuddle Party kind of transforms that.
One thing I love about the book Boundaries by Doctors Cloud and Townsend is how they use the scriptures to say how God has boundaries and wants us to have boundaries. And that includes wanting us to say no. At no point are we asked to just do what anybody asks just because they ask. Like that is not necessarily being heavenly. And so I love that Cuddle Party is a place to practice saying no. And that to me, it's like a muscle. Like you don't go to the gym once and you're a fitness pro for life. You really have to kind of exercise it regularly. And can you say anything about any of the other rules that would kind of be compatible with religious folks who are on the chastity path?
Well, I'm going to go along with what you said about the no being sanctified and holy and appreciated, and as as elevated as a yes. And I often say, like, I'm a yes to my no, right? There's like this really beautiful space in that. And one of the other rules we say is that tears and laughter are both welcome. And I like to say that, right? Like tears are as valuable and holy and important and essential as laughter. And when we have that support and encouragement, we get to be kind of full spectrum around other people and not feel like we have to paste a smile on and just be, one way, but we can be authentic and connected and have a safe place for that with healthy boundaries, right? The facilitator is there to take care of it. Another one, we say no one has to cuddle someone who's, crying or having difficult feelings. The facilitator is there for that. So the participants aren't there to have to take care of other people's feelings, basically.
And I think a lot of people, the word cuddling isn't defined clearly. At Cuddle Party, this can be having a conversation. It could be looking in each other's eyes. It could be sitting shoulder to shoulder. It doesn't have to be hugging for 10 minutes straight. So I guess I wonder, for people who wonder, is this just a free for all? You show up and you just jump into a pile of people. What can they feel secure knowing is not going to happen if they don't really have a clear platonic idea?
Right. Well, that many people come and don't physically cuddle at all. That's very common. And, we always say that's full participation. You can say no to everybody for everything. And it's a wonderful way to experience a cuddle party because it really is all about conscious choice and connection. And there's lots of ways to do that. And some of them are not through touching at all. And some of them are, through foot wars or patty cake or conversation or arm wrestling or all kinds of fun things that adults don't often get to do. So it just creates a really playful kind of out of the box environment, but with really clear structure.
That's wonderful. And I am so glad you were able to share this. And I just hope that the most religious conservative people will feel as welcome as everyone at Cuddle Party and can join us and join in the warmth and love that maybe they want to bring down from heaven.
Me too. Thank you, Larysa.
Thank
I
you.
love talking to you.
You too. Thank you.